I'm Lynn Boyer, and you're listening to Community Catalysts, a podcast that supports each other through shared experience. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Community Catalysts. I'm your host, Lynn Boyer, Executive Director of Community Impact here at the Y, and I'm so pleased to have my guest with me today, and I will let Katelynn introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I am Katelynn. I am the Community Programs Coordinator with Marguerite's Place in Nashua. I've been here since about 2018, and I'm so happy to be here with Lynn today.
Yeah, thank you, Katelynn. So the Y and Marguerite's Place has had a long-standing partnership, probably longer than you and I have been with our organizations combined. So tell us a little bit about Marguerite's Place, where you're located, who you serve, what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So we are located on Palm Street in Nashua. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, which is so exciting. We were started by the Grey Nuns of St. Marguerite's. They were looking at a few different areas. They settled on Nashua. Our program goes across like three different things. So first and foremost, we offer transitional housing for single moms with their children. With that, we also provide child care for our residents, but it's also open to the public. So we're licensed for 30 kiddos. If we don't have 30 resident children, then those are spaces that are being filled by people in our community. Um, we have a phase two to our housing program. So what our independent housing looks like is we've got 10 apartments on site. They're all 2 to 3 bedrooms here. And then we also have 10 condos around Nashua, which offers a phase two for our families. So for a stay, families are staying with us across those two tiers for up to 7 years. And what it's doing is providing a long enough time period for families to reach independence, because that's the goal. So we have the housing, we have childcare, and then we also offer, it's in my title, community programming. That comes out in the form of what we do a lot of our work with the YMCA with. But we have family empowerment nights that are meeting every single Thursday evening for the most part. We have a random Friday or Saturday event thrown in there, but throughout the year, we're hosting a family dinner at 5:30 that launches into some sort of parent programming at 6 o'clock, whether we're working on financial literacy, holistic wellness, mental health resources, resource nights where we're bringing in places like the YMCA or even going to the YMCA for the evening. Um, I think I mentioned financial literacy because that's probably the biggest one that we do. We do life skill classes, just kind of running the gambit of things that we know that people need in our community, things to learn about. Like I sometimes go to those sessions for me outside of just being I work here, but I'm like, hey, like the banker's coming, I'm going this week. So we have a lot of fun with it in terms of like what we're doing. And then, of course, being on Palm Street, we're right in the heart of Nashua. So a lot of our clientele are right where we are on Palm Street, on Kinsley, on West Hollis.
Yeah, that's great. And I love, that not only do you do housing, but that overall support for everything in their lives, especially, as or if they move along from the program, right?
Hmm.
Because housing is just one piece of overall success, right? A large piece, but just one piece. So before we talk about our partnership, I just want to backtrack. So you said it was founded by the Grey Nuns. Is
Hmm.
that the same as the Grey Nuns thrift shop?
Yes,
Is that the
ma'am.
same thing? Okay, all
Yes,
right.
yep. So we refer a lot of people to the Great Nuns. Like we still work very closely together. We're not Um, that's where our roots are. It's not necessarily where we're associated now because now we're independent. But it's the same family of how we got started. They also founded, don't quote me on this, but I believe a couple of the hospitals as well. So it
Okay.
kind of came out of that segment of founding.
Yeah, that's really great. And I always say, and our audience is used to hearing, me say this, but I always learn something new. So that was something new for me to learn with this podcast. But my last podcast was Triangle Credit Union, and I learned about how a small group in Nashua founded that as well. So there's definitely a trending theme here where we're finding out that these small groups and communities in Nashua started these amazing nonprofits that have
Yeah.
grown and continue today. And I just love that. So very interesting. Great. So let's just chat about the kind of partnership that Marguerite's Place and the Y has had.
Yeah. So I think part of one of my favorite things that we did, so it was actually at the very beginning of this year, we did our first field trip for family empowerment. We secured a room at the Nashville location. For our Thursday evenings, we always have volunteer babysitters that are background checked that come in that provide care for our families while the moms are in the session that's for them. So our babysitters traveled with us. They joined us and provided care at the YMCA. We had one of our um, volunteers that provides family empowerment night dinners. She provided dinner at the Y for all the families, which was so cool. We hung out poolside watching all the antics in the pool. So our families had dinner first, and then we were able to go on a full tour hosted by the fabulous Lynn of the entire space. And I think what I really enjoyed was watching how the moms engaged with that, asking questions about specific aspects of the program, even like the before and after school piece, because that's going to be really relevant for them come the fall. So finding out information about that, learning about classes, watching them kind of like nudge each other, like I'll go if you go type of
Yeah.
thing, and just continuing to form that sense of community. And then of course, we talked to the YMCA about like different membership options for our clients. The YMCA offers like not maybe not scholarships. I don't know exactly how to word it. You can probably word it better
Yeah.
than I can, but
Yeah.
they
Financial
work
assistance. Yeah.
financial
Yep.
assistance for families that are low income, and all of our moms are fitting in that bracket. So being able to bring them and show them not just the fabulous space, but also show them, hey, like this could be affordable for you as well, I think was huge, especially during a time of year where we know we get more seclusion because it's cold outside. But well, here's this community that's not even 5 minutes away with a great parking lot, by the way.
Mhm.
And there's a pool and there's classes and there's babysitting there and all of these things. So
Yeah.
it was so much fun to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it was actually one of my favorite moments of the last few months too. It was very impactful for me. So as you shared, I was had the pleasure of hosting everyone, and I agree with you. Taking them on a tour, first of all, like away from their children, right? The children were all beautiful and oh my gosh, so cute. And but to have have the moms be able to step away from that for a minute
Mhm.
was I could you could just tell it was very very helpful for them. And yeah, they were definitely like, if you go to Zumba, I'll go to Zumba. And they were getting so excited about all the different things that we offer and have. And of course, we always hear this on every tour, but I didn't know that you had this, happened a lot too.
Mhm.
But what was really impactful for me was toward the end when we went back into the poolside room. To see how Marguerite's Place community works. So I think you had shared that these families in particular, they don't live together like communal necessarily,
Yeah.
but that relationship that they had, I definitely assumed that they did live communally, but also how they were assisting each other's children
Mm.
without even asking, and not just assisting, but directing them, putting their shoes on without another mom saying, "Hey, can you help me with this?" It was like they just automatically knew what every other mom needed help with.
Yeah.
And that was so impactful for me to just see how that community works. And my hope is that they take that into the doors of the Y. And so I do hope that they are coming in and they are taking classes together and putting their kids in, Kid Stop so that they can spend more time together because that was really impactful for me.
I think one of the things, so when we're talking family homelessness in terms of like a single mom with their kiddo, like we say this all the time, is like it's almost a hidden epidemic because you don't see it walking down Main Street. But you see these families a lot of times like they're in like multi-family homes, or living in somebody's walk-in closet, or shifting from couch to couch to couch. It's what family homelessness looks like. It's
Mhm.
not as apparent. But what's sometimes missing is because of those circumstances, it can be very isolating. So when you come to a situation like this, so we have these 10 apartments, they're all 2 to 3 bedrooms. So we've got 9 2 bedrooms, we have 1 3 bedroom. All of them is they have a key to their front door. They're walking in, they have their bedroom, they have a bathroom, they have a living room, they have a kitchenette. Like it's a fully functioning apartment, but your neighbor is going through something very similar to what you're going through. And I think this has kind of highlighted the importance of that community programming piece. So we started that, I believe, in 2018. It shut down for a little bit due to COVID. And when it came back, we had a parent that had been a part of it beforehand and then was coming back, not even as a resident. She was a childcare parent whose child had graduated but was still coming back for family empowerment nights. And her quote was, "COVID was so hard because I didn't have this."
Mm.
And her this wasn't family empowerment. It wasn't Marguerite's place. It was community. Like that's what was missing. It was isolating. And when you've gone through experiences in life that have naturally isolated you, building a safe community is so important, not just for your future, but for your child's future as well.
Mhm.
And I think that what you saw is the evidence of that, of those family empowerment nights, because you don't get that kind of camaraderie with people overnight. You don't just trust
Mhm.
somebody with your child overnight. And I think and I think I'm jumping ahead in some of the questions, but one of my favorite things that I've watched kind of come out is we get pictures sometimes of birthday parties 3 or 4 years after a child has graduated, and we're seeing faces that are still together years after they've moved on from the program. We get text messages with pictures, and it's a group that got together for Friendsgiving that no longer live in the program, but their friendships that they formed are so strong that they're still doing things together years after the fact. And I think that kind of speaks to like the strength of the community and the resiliency of the women that live here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And our work here at the Y is all about achievement, relationships, and belonging. And
Mm.
Marguerite's Place aligns with that so well, right? You have achievement as far as, successfully setting them up for life beyond your program,
Yeah.
obviously the relationships, and then of course the belonging. They do have that one thing in common that they all are going through the same thing or something similar. So I love that.
I was
Well,
thinking too, in terms of partnerships and collaboration, I kind of highlighted the partnership that we've had with our clientele, but you've even hosted our staff for a staff retreat that we had. You did
that's
that, and you
right.
guys did the training for it as well
Yeah,
for us.
yeah, that's right. Yep. And obviously we see you guys out in similar circles and meetings as well and try to work together to, combat this stuff. But so what's something exciting that you guys have coming up? I'm sure a lot, right?
Coming up. So it's been released on our socials here and there, and it's our timeline isn't perfect, but we have purchased an additional building that abuts our property, that is going to be our expansion project. So coming up in the next few years, we're going to be looking at additional housing, but almost like more importantly is that community programs piece that we're offering is going to be growing. I think the hardest part is I love telling people about our program. And then there's always this like asterisk of, but there's like this 2 to 3 year wait list. And I hate
Hmm.
having to say that. So within the next few years, we're looking at growing. And within that growth will be even this community programs piece will be more open to the public because we'll have more space.
Yeah.
So we're keep an eye on that, keep an eye on our
Yeah.
socials because more information is going to be coming out. But that's
That's
I think
great.
the biggest exciting thing is
Yeah.
it's like
No,
the
that's
big
great.
thing right
Yeah,
now.
that is pretty big.
Yeah. Just a little.
Do you have a fundraiser coming up or did you just have one? I know you typically have you have an annual gala or fundraiser, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So we have our annual gala, and at that event, how was I want to say it was last October, but it's typically September, October, and I'm going to be
Okay.
honest, I can't always keep it tracked from year to year. So September, October, we have our annual gala. So this year, not this year, 2024, because it is now 2025,
Yeah.
we did unveil kind of that expansion project. And as we get deeper into it, there'll be a lot more information about that. But we just got the building and that's the start.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's really great. Well, congratulations on that. So you kind of touched on it, but we'll go a little deeper. What are you most proud of since your time with Marguerite's Place?
So I actually just had a meeting with a potential new volunteer this morning, and I've already made myself cry once today. So let's not go for round two, shall we? I think for me, it always comes down to just watching generational impact. And there's there's a there's a few buzzwords that are constantly used in the field, and one of them is wraparound services, and another one is holistic care, that we want to care for the whole person, the whole family, and the services that we provide, we want them to wrap around the family. And I think I was maybe a little bit jaded about those words because they're used so frequently, they're used everywhere, but you don't always see it actually happening in the spaces that they're being used. And it's just because it's hard to provide that type of care.
Mm.
But watching it in real time happen here every single day is probably what I am most proud of. We have a residential programs coordinator who's providing case management, who's working with our childcare coordinator and our childcare staff. So if there's something happening in housing and it's also happening in a classroom, well, then how can we wrap services around that family to address it? And a lot of it comes out in our classrooms have like social emotional education, and that's the whole point of what they're teaching children. Like there's a full curriculum, but a lot of it is around voicing, expressing, and managing emotions, because that's one of the most important things that you can teach a child 0 to 3 or 0 to 5.
Mhm.
Then we have this community programs piece, which is providing almost like this umbrella of additional services where we're bringing in places like the YMCA to connect, or I'm bringing in places like even the Nashua School District. So every year I bring in the McKinney-Vento liaison and the kindergarten coordinator to get everybody set and ready to go for the next school year. And I think that's where I have like the most pride, is what we are showing people is it's not just about Marguerite's place, but it's about every other service in Nashua that is coming together to help you be successful.
Mm.
The goal is independence. Marguerite's place can't do that alone. The YMCA can't do that alone. And we have in Nashua, there's a huge amount of resources. And I think what we do really well here is helping people navigate those resources and learning what is available at their fingertips, because you don't always know what questions to ask, right?
Right.
Um, I can say so. My husband and I are foster parents, and we've had the opportunity to move the two little boys that we're fostering. They come to this program, and watching how much they grew in just a few months, watching their attachment form to be able to leave different social settings and know like those people will be there later. I can say goodbye and I don't have to have a meltdown over it, is huge. And a lot of it comes from the fact that they're being taught how to manage, express, and feel in an appropriate manner for any human being.
Yeah.
And that is a lifelong lesson that no matter where those kiddos go from here, they're going to hold on to that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that that is probably what I am most proud of, is
Yeah.
we're not just helping the adult, but it's also about the child that's
Yeah.
walking in mama's footsteps.
Yeah, and having that, like I said, that community behind them, right? Like
Yeah.
knowing that someone else has their back, but also someone else is there to keep them in line, right? And teach them and help them be successful. And that's what I witnessed that evening when the group came over. So it's so great. And this is why I asked you to join me, because you are so passionate about the work that you do. I know you were a little hesitant at first, but I'm so glad that you were able to join us. So my last question before we wrap up, just is there one thing, we all have our elevator speeches, right? But if there's one thing that you wanted our audience to take away about Marguerite's Place, what would it be?
Such a big question. As I said, I wish I could shout from the rooftop all of the services that we provide and say that anybody could access them tomorrow. But that's a little tricky right now. So I honestly think, like, for me right now, is the one thing I wish that everybody knew is that we are here and we're growing. So keep an eye out, like watch what we're doing and get involved. Like no matter where you're at. So we've had, I think one of my favorite things is this happened just a few weeks ago. We had a former resident who is in the process of moving. So she's independent, market rate rent. She's doing awesome. She had some toys that she no longer needed. She cleaned them up and she brought them back and donated them. So it literally does not matter who you are. Like you can step into this work and help out in some way. And watching how people interact and then get energized because they did help out in some way, it feels good. So I think that just what I wish everybody knew is that, hey, right now we're small, but we're growing and there's a place for everybody. So reach out, communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful to hear. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me. That was very impactful for me to hear, and I'm so glad that you were able to join this month. And to our Community Catalyst audience, thank you for listening in, and we'll see you next time. You can download Community Catalyst on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Castbox, and Spotify.